special guest with us, Mr. Stephen Morgan of Golden Hour, as we are going to break down some mushrooms, some psilocybins, and just benefits of, healing thyself naturally,
right.
mentally and physically.
Yes, metaphysics, mind and body.
So without further ado, we are going to get into this and tap in with us with Mr. Stephen. Like I said, his name is Mr. Stephen of the Golden Hour, and we're just going to have a good conversation about mushrooms and some of the benefits that you can find with that. So, Mr. Stephen, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, or the people watching? How did you get into mushrooms? What's your journey inside of holistic wellness?
Of course. Peace, family and friends. My name's Stephen with Golden Hour Infusions. Proud to give you guys a little bit of knowledge today about how we can help break old habits and patterns out of your life that you feel have been holding you back. In my journey, thank you. In my journey of searching for ways to eliminate some of the bad habits in my life, because we're human, we're creatures of habit. I found that a lot of modern medicine doesn't really help the way we want it to long term. A lot of the medicine offered by psychologists or a lot of the holistic methods require constant application or constant dosing to see effects. Okay. On top of that, it doesn't really give us what we need to change our habits. They just
so it's masking it.
Just masking it,
Okay.
Putting a Band-Aid on the wound, not actually healing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to search for a more natural approach to solve the solution, or to get to the root of the illness, as we like to say. In that being said, through a lot of studies, mainly looking at the West and how California has been making progress for people, I found mushrooms. In my younger years, I tried mushrooms here and there as a uneducated approach.
Mm-hmm. So you were just, trying the shrooms as a euphoric effect,
right?
Versus the medical or the medicinal benefits behind it.
Of course, as a lot of America's youth has found a way to have fun in anything they do. Never really gave it any mind to what it could do to help me, just like the way it made me feel at the time. Years go by, never thought about it again until issues kept arising in my daily life. It's hard for me to get motivated in the mornings. It's hard for me to show myself appreciation and love. I was in a really dark place coming into my early adulthood, and no modern medicine could help. Sought out, like I said, psychiatric treatment, and kept hitting dead ends and no results. I feel like actually modern medicine was holding me back from my full potential instead of actually helping me. And I know there's people out there that have loved ones or family with depression or PTSD or schizophrenia, and they struggle every day with that. So finding a good solution that lasts throughout a long time to help that person reach a better life, that's something I feel like we all need.
In a more natural state.
In a more natural state, without sacrificing their well-being or without all the weird side effects.
Okay.
Because that's the
biggest. Do you think that having the medicinal mushrooms or the psilocybins are for everyone, or do you feel like certain people?
At this point in time, I would say it's only for people who have mental health issues, and those needs aren't being met in the biopharmacology. Those needs need to be addressed so that person that deserves a happy life can have a happy life. Now, speaking to others who want to have a more open mind in general, of course, I recommend the experience once, maybe twice in their life. Not something they should seek as an ongoing routine, though.
Okay.
For sure.
So, within your travels of practice and studying and learning the information about psilocybins, and I can continue to say psilocybins, can you break down that for me? What is the psilocybin? Psilocybin, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Psilocybin is the active ingredient in magic mushrooms, as we like to call them. A common strain would be the golden teacher, hence the name Golden Hour. It acts upon the 5-H2A receptors found in the cerebral cortex that are responsible for most of the patterns and behavior that we have in life. Specifically speaking, for people in the South, we come from an environment where there's a lot of negativity going around, a lot of trauma to say, especially in households of some of our underserved communities. So there's a lot of, anger, there's a lot of sadness and sorrow, and a lot of negative self-talk that reinforces bad habits. Psilocybin acts upon the cortex to sort of cause noise amongst all those networks of habits that we have, to allow you to have breathing room to make new habits. So a person that suffers from depression, for example, it's almost like climbing over a mountain in their mind to get from one thought to the other. The simple connection of getting out of bed and going to brush your teeth, or getting out of bed and going to work. They literally have to cross an ocean or cross a mountain to accomplish that simple task. What psilocybin will do, it will smooth that mountain out and allow the brain to make a connection from A to B much smoother than having to travel so far and so hard and convince yourself with so much willpower.
So it's a bridge.
Right, it's a bridge. And it's not a bridge that acts instantly. Even though it does have immediate mood boosting effects, the neuroplasticity will last over the course of a week or a month. In that time, a person should take it upon themselves to introduce themselves to new, more positive habits, and it will get easier over time.
So we have to do some work. It's just not take the shroom and everything works in accordance to what you think it should. We do have to put some work behind it for like self-motivating.
Fortunately, it's not a miracle. But it does allow you to rewrite your life. It gives you that blank page to write a new story. So a lot of people need that, a fresh start per se.
Now, is there any particular way you would recommend taking shrooms, or what are the different avenues of consuming?
I would definitely not recommend anyone taking them by themselves in the beginning, especially not for mental health.
Okay.
I would recommend you finding a practitioner that has taken the time to familiarize themselves with the effects of psilocybin on the brain. They need to know your story. They need to know what's your goals and what's holding you back from achieving your goals. They need to know your daily routine. They need to know how you treat yourself day to day. Then they can help you in your journey. It's been recommended for people with more severe mental health issues, more debilitating diseases, to microdose throughout their day. Depending on a person's size and tolerance, that's something that also a trained healthcare provider should definitely reach into for them to find out. I would say the microdosing would be a good thing for people with real trauma.
Now, when it comes to the shrooms on the more spiritual side of it and just connecting with nature or our ancestors, or just be more in tune with self, how do you go about saying, well, I want to try the shrooms to connect better spiritually? What would you recommend, or what would you discuss in that matter?
Well, that would be something along the lines of a hero trip, as they like to call it these days. So,
what is a hero trip?
A save your soul kind of trip. Definitely for the adventurer, the spiritual adventurer. That is where you would connect with nature, very similar to a grounding experience. You would open your mind with a moderate dose of psilocybin, which would be anywhere from 3 to 5 grams of magic mushrooms, depending on the species. Right now we're talking about golden teacher. So with that being said, give yourself 6 to 12 hours of no responsibilities whatsoever. Ground yourself in nature, surround yourself with people that you love, or have a backup plan if you are out by yourself in nature, because every experience for each person is different. If you have a lot of unhandled emotions within you, it might be wise to have a safety network, or not to take this journey by yourself, because you will be overwhelmed with all of the spiritual mishaps within you. However, if you have been very healthy in the spirit and good to yourself, then just enjoy the journey and see where it takes you. You'll learn a lot about yourself.
So some mental clarity is definitely more stimulating for the brain, and the clarity and balance of life when it comes to dealing with the shrooms. Now you talk about the golden hour. What are other strands of shrooms?
Golden Teacher, you have AAA plus, you have, and forgive the name here, Penis Envy. You have...
Wait a minute now. Asiatic? No.
You have many different strands. There's over 600 different natural occurring strands of psilocybin containing mushrooms on the planet. I have yet to discover a majority of those. I'm only able to speak about the strands readily available in the States here and some of the countries, mainly Europe. And right now, New Jersey, Oregon, and California are doing great at making these life-saving mushrooms available to the public. So feel free to check out your local East Coast and West Coast vendors. And you can also learn more at the Neuropsychopharmacology of Consciousness of Johns Hopkins University.
Okay.
There's a lot of great doctors there that are doing great things and great research that's backing up everything I'm saying right now. So you don't have to take my word for it. You can take the big wig's advice too.
You know, sometimes we gotta throw the white coat in there to make you have understanding, but I take your word for it because you are very educated, and then also just the spiritual connection is very in tune. So we try to go with in tune. We kind of discussed prior about some of the research that you've done. We've also discussed slight variation of different mushrooms. Sometimes when I have come across people and they would discuss about taking shrooms, they'll say, well, I've seen so many different colors, or, it tapped into my ancestors, or it, had me floating or levitating. What are your feelings and thoughts behind that?
Okay. On that aspect, there's never going to be a scientific explanation for the spirit.
Yes.
So with that being said, each person's experience is different. It all ties to how deep you're willing to go inside your own body, inside your own mind. For somebody that's already used to meditating and that can generate their safe space in their mind, if you can close your eyes and draw a picture in your mind, then if you take mushrooms, it's just going to enhance that experience. If you're somebody that's not really capable of holding a thought for very long, those are the ones that typically see the colors and the lights and the good feelings. And gradually, of course, remember we said it allows you to create a new life. It makes it easier for you to become that person that can hold that picture in your mind and have a clear vision. And we know vision is important in attaining the life you want. If you can't have vision, you can't have growth. So it all ties together. But back to the spirituality of it,
Okay.
Getting in tune with your ancestors. They're already there. They never left. They're right here. We got friends in higher places. Okay, so don't forget that.
Tapping into the subconsciousness of the mind and bringing it forward.
Right. Now, as we said, for the people with depression, what the mushrooms actually do, they bridge the gap between different networks in the brain. So in any situation where a person may have difficulty talking to their ancestors who are already there, difficulty focusing, difficulty forming a vision in their mind, difficulty finding self-motivation or self-worth, all the mushrooms will do is create a easier route to obtain all of these things. Maybe all at the same time, maybe all at different times, depending on what your goals are. So we have access to the bridge. Why not use it and walk across it?
Right.
Don't go over the mountains and through the ocean and around the bend. Just walk through the valley.
Right.
You know, that's what we look for. We want an easy route. This is an easy route. Of course, you still have to walk through the valley, but you know, that's better than going over the mountain. So.
Okay. Now, with discussing the different shrooms, because there are other mushrooms out there that are legal, what steps would you say people need to make, or a state needs to make, in regards to legalizing it where we're currently sitting in Mississippi?
I suppose the greatest fear is, you know, the propaganda we've been shown about hippies on the mushrooms and giving up all their responsibilities in life and tripping out, running around naked and doing all of these obscene things that are really terrifying to somebody with an image to hold up. You know, if you're somebody that's a CEO of an important company and your image actually matters, or if you're a celebrity, or if you have rather judgmental family, you know, you can't be seen affiliated with any idea of that, even remotely close to that, you know. You got an image to hold up. That's all stigma. It's all stigma. We need to get that out the way right now. The way people are walking around right now, scared of themselves, scared to be alone, don't want to look in the mirror because they're scared of what they're going to see. You should be judging yourself more off that than what you think people are going to think about you, thinking you might be running around naked hugging trees. Okay.
Well, they said that about cannabis, and now, you know, we're legalizing it. So it's going to be a journey to get into that format of saying mushrooms, legalizing it. But it's the same concept of what you're saying. The stigma, the stereotype of what cannabis was is what mushrooms are. Right.
You have people that were paralyzed, taking mushrooms and accessing parts of their brain that allow them to focus on their body and heal it to be able to walk again. You have people with writer's block, simple artists that couldn't write a book or another sentence in whatever project they were working on at the time, were able to not only finish their project but create many more after that. You have artists that were focused on drawing motivational works for people that have furthered their careers based off the insight and the motivation they gained from that awareness. So you even have simple day-to-day office workers that need an extra boost or extra creative edge in the workplace to obtain a new deal or to obtain a higher level of quality or a higher quality of work. You know, they all benefit from this in different ways. Even people that are mistreating their families because of a deep-rooted mental issue, they come out on the other side of the journey loving themselves and loving other people more.
It's definitely something that will enhance the mind when it comes to, like, you know, growth and development and trying to, you know, find a solution to solving of some sort when it comes to the mushroom.
Right, and of course there's always a dark side. There's always a dark side to cannabis use. Whereas it can be a medicinal herb used to help alleviate pain, or PTSD, or all the other factors. There's also the risk of abusing it and, you know, the negative qualities of the typical lazy stoner mindset.
But that's even with prescription medicine. You know, there are benefits and then there are, you know, misuses of things. You know, you can overuse, which is what they would do with pain medication and things like that. And now you're, you know, becoming addicted to it, and now you're out here on the streets trying to find it.
Right. That was the huge issue in the opiate crisis, and we see it today. It graduated all the way up to fentanyl, and people are dying daily from it.
Yes.
I myself have had family members that have fallen into that terrible cycle and were unable to save themselves or receive help from anyone. So I would like to say regulation is always necessary, of course. From the standpoint of a personal regulation and governmental regulation. Personal regulation, you need a safety net of people that will hold you accountable.
Right.
You know, as in all things. We need accountability in all things for self-love and self-help. Now, from the government standpoint, The same way they found ways to regulate all the pharmaceuticals that are on the streets these days, however efficiently that may be. They need to at least attempt to install the same practices that they have for medical marijuana or any other pharmaceutical, psychological medicine.
That's right.
So it's a work in progress.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned the name of your company is Golden Hour, hence from the shroom itself.
Sound like the sunlight rising, the golden hour. You
That's
know,
The
sunrise.
ambient hour from sunrise, and then the golden hour in photography of sunset, that picture perfect moment of peak performance in life. That's what we're looking for, especially with golden teachers being the catalyst for change. There's no other way to find the walk through the valley. Imagine that in your mind for a second. Sunrise. You just made it over the mountain. The valleys before you, it's all easy breezy walking from here to anywhere you want to go. You got paths to creativity, paths to productivity, paths to ambience. Anywhere you want to go, you can find it in that golden hour.
Yes, you can.
Beautifully said. So from where you started with your research to where you are now, how do you see that difference?
Now, from the progress that I've made, even my dictation now that we have, I wasn't able to speak like this 2 years ago. I wasn't able to sit here comfortably with you in front of camera and possibly in front of hundreds of people like this 2 years ago. I had done a lot of things to search for a solution to undo the negative habits that were reinforced in my life that caused the anxiety that would have prevented me from even showing up here today. So I found that in slowly finding a healthy routine, incorporating mushrooms into that routine, and then taking care of myself and taking the steps necessary to make it to the other side.
And now you out here MMA fighting, just like, well, pop.
Yes, Muay Thai training, healthier than I've ever been at 27 years old. I feel great. I feel great.
And there's no stopping that. That growth is undeniable, which is why we wanted to have this video with you, which is why we wanted to, put more awareness to other individuals about, those type of benefits versus just that negative stigma that has been placed on it. Another question I would say, are there ways to heighten the mushroom itself? Or would you recommend to incorporate it?
Effect of it?
Well, what ways would you incorporate it? I know you can, do it like the chocolate and things like that, but will that heighten it, or will it kind of balance you out?
Okay,
as
so
far like different methods.
Infusing the mushroom is more of a way of preserving it. Because the life of a mushroom after it's dried out is anywhere from what I understand, a week to a month. After that, it kind of starts losing its potency the same way that any other medicine has a shelf life. And after that, it's not as effective as it's intended to be after a certain amount of time. So the act of infusing it into chocolates or infusing it into honeys or infusing it into sugars or glycerins to make syrups, it's just a preservative. That's all. Gives it, an extra year
the
to 2
same
years.
amount of effectiveness.
Right. So, with that being said, it doesn't really change the effect of it. Another thing is, eating a raw mushroom is really hard for a lot of people to do. Very difficult. The stems themselves will upset the stomach. There's a lot of factors that go into a person's personal diet that would affect how they can handle, the taste of a raw mushroom. We even cook most like shiitake, reishi, lion's mane, oyster mushrooms. I don't think I've met too many people that would just eat one raw. So they're cooked. But cooking psilocybin, you're at risk of destroying the active ingredient. So with that being said, we use teas. We make mushroom tea, which is a more subtle way of absorbing the psilocybin into the body. Gives you more of the creative, motivational, euphoric feeling, and is easier to dose in that sense as well. For the people that are searching for a more active experience, I would suggest, trying chocolate truffle or infusing into an
More of
oil.
an edible.
More of an edible, yes. Because it would
So
allow
you're
you.
saying an oil, not to cut you off, but you're saying an oil, are you saying like topically or like an oil, like a cookie
No,
base?
the glycerin solution.
Okay.
So it would be more of a liquid for
A tincture.
A tincture. Yes,
Okay.
that is one. Tincture would be alcohol derived.
Say something about the gel.
It's a syrup. Moreover, the same principle as infusing into a honey, but infusing into a glycerin or sugar-based solution to make a syrup, and that'll give it a little bit longer shelf life, about a year to 18 months.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So now, the question would be, out of those different ways of incorporating the mushrooms and utilizing it that way, would it make a difference for the weight of the person or the height of the person as far as dosing, or what are your suggestions?
It'd be more on the personality type of your sensitivity. Weight doesn't really matter. It'd be more of your diet, what sort of mental condition you're in, and that would determine how sensitive you are to any psychedelic.
So what type of eating habits should one have when dealing with the psychedelics? Like if you're more acid-based, would that be more harmful than saying more alkaline-based or plant-based?
Well, I'll say the cleaner the body, the cleaner the experience, of course, definitely. Typically, people that eat more acidic diets have a poorer quality of mental health. So I'm not a doctor here, but I will say those all affect the experience you will have.
So if someone out here drinking and then smoking and they're gonna take me a shroom to heighten that effect, it may be the opposite of that.
Could be the opposite for them, And another thing, alcohol and psilocybin mix to create a heavy sedative. So if you're drinking and you decide to take mushrooms, it won't give you the results you want. It'll put you straight to sleep. They use mushrooms to treat alcohol addiction because it gives you sort of the same feeling without the negative effects of alcohol. The hangover the next day, the slurred speech and irresponsible behaviors are all kind of factors that aren't in play there when you're just dealing with mushrooms themselves.
So say someone who is vegan or more plant-based and they say, I'm gonna go ahead and take some, I'm gonna give you one of those infused cups with the shrooms in it. Will it make them have a heightened effect, or will it, again, it's going off the brain stimulation?
You're more likely to have a heightened experience or a much stronger experience than the average person, yes.
Okay. And so with that being said, I want to kind of wrap us up slightly. You gave us so much information. I don't even know. It was a lot. I appreciate you.
We made it to the top of the mountain.
We did. We got there. We got there.
Boy, that was quite informative. Y'all was building really well. We learned on how to deal with these psilocybins.
I know. I learned the correct way of saying it.
Yeah, but you say tomato, I say tomato. It's the same difference. We speak in their English, right? But yet, man, you was really on point with some information. I'm gonna be one of the first out of my family, from me and my witness, to try me some. And I'm gonna drink it on the tea. I've been sipping it, to be honest, while y'all been talking.
You've been
I've been standing
drinking
behind the camera sipping, so I ain't tripping. I learned quite a bit. It is enlightening. I feel like I'm on a journey of growth. I feel like I'm enlightened. So with that, I'm gonna go study some gematria, pick me some baseball teams, and I'm out.
Peace, God.
When that's at zero.
Rather animated.
Get them at zero and try them out on them.
Yeah.
But I do want, as we wrap this up, I do want to thank you, and much obliged to the information that you shared with us as the viewing public, and with Moore's Choice. And then I always want to say, again, like you say, consult your physician, or do self work, in atonement of learning more about mushrooms yourself. I don't know, do you want to say anything as we end this?
Just want to remind people, this isn't, however amazing it may be, and yes, it could be considered a miracle drug, yes. I want to remind people that the traumas that some are attempting to overcome, you didn't get those overnight. those habits didn't form overnight. So the solution's not gonna come overnight either. For the recreational users, same as well. You know, your experience that you're looking for isn't gonna happen immediately. So just have patience, have faith, and search for the golden hour.
Blessings.
Peace.